Hey, it's Ollie, and we are now in day 3 of my project to learn to read and write Chinese characters. And I'm going to be talking about the question today of, do you need to actually learn to write, or is reading enough? Is recognition not enough? And I've noticed it's been very interesting actually, as I predicted in the comments to these videos. Now we've got a lot of people commenting who are either native Chinese or Cantonese, who people who have learned to read and write as children, obviously, and then there are foreigners who have learnt to read and write Chinese as adults, and it's striking the difference in advice that these two groups of people give. And many people have suggested that I don't need to learn to actually write the characters because these days a lot of people never write by hand, and if they do have to write at all, it's usually on the computer or on the phone. And so the suggestion is, well, you don't need to learn to waste time learning to write. You can just learn to read, and that's enough. Now, I really disagree with this, and I have been practicing reading and writing. I've been practicing the writing right from the beginning, and it's a huge help.
And if you take a look at these three characters here, the character for same, the character for cave, and then the character for orientation. Now, you'll notice that they're all very similar. They've all got the kind of enclosure with the mouth, the square in the middle, and then there are little details which are different as well. And I think when you're taking on this task of learning huge numbers of characters, you have to intellectualize this process. You have to say to yourself, okay, this is the character for cave, and we can remember that with the water radical. You have to take this intellectual approach in order to process loads and loads of stuff, but after you get beyond a certain number, that starts to become unwieldy, and all the kind of mnemonics that you're creating simply merge into one another. So there's something about the process of just writing, and my writing is obviously still really, really basic, but every time you repeat a character, something reinforces it inside your head. I mean, apart from anything, it's a beautifully kind of cathartic process to write stuff out, but trying to get this sense of balance in the square, trying to make your characters look. See, I've just realised now I'm not hooking it at the end, so I have to go back and now do that. So you learn something about the nature of the character by doing this writing process, and it might be difficult to say exactly what that brings to the learning process. But like with language learning in general, a lot of it's quite mysterious. We don't know exactly why things work, but what's for sure is that when you're learning a language, the more that you can attack it from different angles, whether it's by speaking, listening, reading, writing, the more likely stuff is to go in. And for me, the idea of trying to learn Chinese characters without writing it is insanity to me. And then, when it comes to slightly more complex characters, like these, for example, if you don't write them down, you're missing out on the huge side of it, which is muscle memory. And muscle memory is not to be discounted. I mean, you can't rely on muscle memory for the same reason you wouldn't learn all these characters by simply copying them out hundreds and hundreds of times like kids do over many, many years. That's not effective. But I don't think you can discount it as a strategy or as helpful. And I certainly find that whenever I come back to a character the next day or the next week, I recognise another part of the element, and it forms connections in my mind, and that is ultimately what helps to make it stick.
Now, I haven't even got as far as figuring out, even if I did want to write Chinese characters on the computer, what kind of input systems would work. The only one I'm familiar with is the one where you actually draw it on the trackpad with your hand. But again, I'm not particularly interested in that. For now, I'm very much enjoying the process of writing the characters out. What we haven't talked about, which is the next step in this process, which is already very clear to me, is the process of actually how you practice writing them out, and how you decide what order to follow, what order your practice is going to follow, when you're going to bring characters back and repeat them. What's your kind of repetition system? So we'll talk about that in the next video, because I've got a very, 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 very cool tool that I've been using that's helped me a lot with that. So whether you agree or disagree with me, or you've got any comments or ideas or suggestions, please go ahead stick them in the comments. And if you're learning Chinese characters, definitely have a read of the comments in these videos, because there's some really good stuff coming in from people that's extremely helpful. So that's it. I'll see you back tomorrow for something on the repetition system.